Everyone, thank you for coming. I'm sure we'll have more people trickle in, maybe not, but I know I enjoy talking about this stuff up here. When it comes to finance and education, I know not a lot of people love to hear about it. My goal tonight is to have a more engaging conversation about the topic at hand. So if you have questions, don't wait till the end, raise your hand. Let's be engaged if you want. I'm not a comedian, so heckle away, like if you got some feedback. But a little bit about me. My name is Benton Blake. I'm actually brothers with Aaron, who I don't think anyone knows you here, Aaron. So high level, I'm co-founder of Rise Wealth Management and Planning. We had the opportunity to sponsor Atomic Athletics Club, soccer club. We had to jump at it just because we know how much Landon, who's my nephew, Aaron's boy, loves the game. We also know how much work parents put in to having their kids as part of these clubs. Both, my brother and his wife work full time. They're traveling a lot to go on these tournaments, a lot of midweek games. So when it comes to like these opportunities to come in and learn more about how we can enrich our lives outside of what we're just doing all the time, like pat yourself on the back for coming out here and taking that opportunity to learn a little bit more. This will be one of many. We don't know how many, but we want to hold these conversations always around something financial, information we can share to help enrich your guys' financial journey. And of course, if you ever have any questions or want follow-up guidance, we deal mostly with financial planning and investment management. More than happy to chat. So today the conversation is around education planning. Who here is saving for college for their little ones? Anyone? Okay. You can raise your hands higher too if you want. When it comes to saving, there's the biggest question is how much should I save, which is surrounded by what kind of college is my kid going to go to? Is it going to be in-state or out-of-state? Is it going to be public or private? Is it going to be a community college? Then there's also trade school options. So today's slides, we're going to go over, how much you can expect college to cost. So we'll break some costs down there. How to determine if you're saving enough. And those are actually, they should be switched because we're actually going to start with the account that you're saving in. Are you saving inside the right account? And then we'll finish with how you determine if you're saving enough. Just to slow down here with the accounts that we're talking about, how to save inside accounts. When it comes to investments, who here deals with investments? I saw you looking at the stock market. Some. So there's things to buy inside your investment accounts, but more importantly, there's what investment account are you putting it in? And that can play a huge part into how successful you are in hitting your financial goals. So we're gonna hit that one the hardest. So first, let's talk about cost of education. So I pulled some numbers. They're on the pad there. My computer's far away. I was expecting it to be closer to here. But I can tell you that these high numbers are going to be more room and board, food, books, everything. So if you're that parent that wants to make sure everything is covered for your child, you're going to want to look at the right-hand side. That's going to be more or less what you're going to pay annually based off of where your kid goes to school. So there's the in-state, out-of-state, private, think Westminster, community colleges like SLIC, and then trade schools. I went to flight school right out of high school. I did helicopters. I can tell you it did not cost me $20,000 to do that. Add a one in front of that and there you go. So trade schools, it's going to be a lot more of an average than that. But 4 people raise their hands saving for college. Have you ever looked at these numbers to figure out how much you need, or is it one of those you're just throwing money in an account and you hope it's enough?
The latter.
Yes?
Whatever I can afford.
Whatever. And there's a lot of that approach with saving for education. It's like we want to help our kids out, but at the same time, we want to make sure we're not blowing up other parts of our financial future, retirement being one of them. So it's what can we put aside, and we kind of look at it as, okay, I'm focused on all these other things, and whatever's left, I'll put aside for my kid, and then if it's enough, great. If not, it's not. But what we have found time and time again when it comes to financial planning is if we can paint a clear picture of where you need to be, which requires 2 things, a timeline and an amount, and we reverse engineer, people are more successful in hitting that goal because then we start at the very beginning and say, this is how much you need to put aside. And it's not just arbitrary. Because if it is arbitrary, it's a little easy some months to say, oh, we're not going to put money in that account this month. Bills came up. We'll make up for it next month. And then next thing you know, 6 months down the road, we haven't put anything in. And so look at those numbers, take them to heart so that you can get a better idea of how much you should be saving, because that's the first step of the equation, how much. The second is, where do you put it? So who's right now putting money into a 529 plan? It's easiest. Now, you said you're saving for education. Is that right? No? Or was that Zach? Yeah, Zach, sorry. 529 as well?
Yes.
Okay. Why is everyone who's saving in a 529 plan saving in a 529 plan? Can anyone articulate that?
It's the one that I feel like is marketed that I know of.
Okay. Corey? Yeah, right? You're at a birthday party. Oh, you just had a baby? Open up a 529 account. It is the most common. And we're going to dive into why that is. There are tax benefits to the 529 account. Now, we're going to uncover that maybe those tax benefits aren't as good as they seem on the surface. And everyone's situation is going to be a little different. But we'll dive into the 529 plans and the benefits you get by investing in those for education. Pros and cons. There's also custodial accounts. Does anyone know what those are? These accounts are kind of dying, but Zach?
Like an investment account for your child that they can't have access to until they hit a certain age?
Yes. It doesn't have to be an investment account. It's any account that you open up. It could be a checking account, savings account. Essentially, you're opening up an account for a minor, someone who's under 18. They can't legally own that account. But as a parent, you can, and have them as the guardian, them as the beneficiary. It's their account. You're just the custodian until they reach age of majority. In Utah, that's actually 21. So these are kind of dying off, and the reason why is once your kid hits 21, it's all theirs. So you could be putting all this money away for education, and all of a sudden it's, hey, I actually want a car. I don't want to. So we will touch on the pros and cons of those, but they're kind of a dying breed. Roth IRAs. Who's heard of those? Everyone, right? Maybe, hopefully. Roth IRA, when it comes to retirement, you can actually save for education in there. There's some strategies around it. It's not the most lucrative, but if you get to that finish line where your kid's going to school, they're third year in, and now they're just looking at that fourth year, and you've exhausted 529 plans, there's some strategies there with Roth IRAs. And lastly, a taxable investment account. Now that sounds like garbage because it's the first word in it, but it's just an investment account that has no tax benefits. Anyone familiar with those sort of investment accounts?
Just typical investments, right?
A lot of people call them brokerage accounts. Yep. So they're accounts where you open them up, you put money in, you can invest. There's no sexy tax benefits like a retirement account, but you're also not locking up liquidity. So in your retirement accounts, you're getting tax benefits, but you're trading liquidity because you can't touch it till you're 59 and a half. These accounts, you can invest in them, you lose the tax benefits, but you can put money in today, pull it out tomorrow. So that's another vehicle we'll dive into.
Are those the only ones that don't have a limit to what you can contribute per year?
Pretty much. Now the 529 plans, we'll touch on that with the gift tax exclusion limit. There's not really a limit, but you can trigger gift taxes if you're not careful with that one. So let's dive in. So 529 plans, this is where most people are saving for their kids' education. So who can tell me, you can look at the board if you want, what is the biggest tax benefit of investing in a 529 account? State deduction. How much of a deduction do you get on your taxes every year?
Your gains are tax-free if it's for education expenses.
And more importantly, tax deferred. In a normal investment account, like let's say you bought NVIDIA. Who knows about NVIDIA now? Yeah. If you didn't, you do now. Or Google or Apple back in 2003, right? Well, now it might be time to take some chips off the table and sell it. Well, if you're in a taxable account, you're going to get taxed on those gains in the year you sell it. What's nice about the 529 accounts is you can sell that and there's no tax implication to do that. You would, of course, hopefully buy some more investments and just diversify out of that. So that's the tax deferral. Now, the interesting part is who's in a target date fund in their 529 account? Okay? When you're in a target date fund, they're doing all that trading inside the fund. So there's not really taxes that you're saving on the deferral. So that's the first thing is like while on the surface, it's like, hey, it's tax deferred. We're not paying taxes on it at all. Well, if you were to buy a target date fund in a taxable account at 5 when your kid's 5, by the time they're 18, maybe you've paid some dividends throughout the years. But other than that, it essentially grew at the same tax-free or tax-deferred rate that the 529 did. The deduction that Aaron was talking about is when you put money in, the state allows you to deduct so much on your taxes. But unfortunately, if you're married filing jointly, it's so small, you'll benefit $221 in tax savings. So it's nothing to balk at, but it's again, not as life-changing as you would think. But the biggest thing is now, let's say you opened up a 529 account for your kid right when they were born, they're 18, you've invested over that time a total of $50,000 and now it's $150,000. Well, that $100,000 you can sell to pay for the education and not pay any taxes on it. That is the power of the 529 account. So while we get a tax deduction for the money going in, it's not meaningful. While the tax deferral helps, we're usually in target date funds. So unless you're trading stocks and going in and out of positions, that's not as beneficial either. But where you can really benefit is at the end when they're 18, all those gains now we can pull it out. We can start putting money towards their education and not have to worry about paying taxes on that. FAFSA. Who's familiar with FAFSA? Yeah, no, it's not unfortunate. Everyone should apply for FAFSA. I don't care. Like it's money that the federal government gives kids for education for families that don't have the means to put them through. And so I mean, regardless of how much you make, you should always apply for FAFSA because you don't know what those limits are and what your kid could get. The nice thing about the 529 plan is it's owned by the parent, not the child, when they look at the balance sheet for FAFSA applications. So it's about 1/4 of the hit on FAFSA eligibility versus an UTMA account where it's owned by the kid, that would hit their balance sheet. So we'll go to the UTMA next. What is cool though about the flexibility in the 529 accounts is, well, let's go to the biggest con. So we talked about the tax-free. What is the biggest con of a 529 account? Does anyone know?
Limited education.
Yep. You have $500,000 in this 529 account and your kid gets a scholarship. He's an only child. So now what? You already have your master's degree. You're not going back to school. There is flexibility in being able to give it to relatives. So it doesn't have to be your child. So think by blood, by marriage, or by adoption. So if I had a 529 account, could give it to Landon. I don't have kids, so I don't, but
Look into it.
yes.
I heard it can only be transferred to those three avenues.
Those three, but it's pretty wide. Like, so, and what's nice too is, let's say you have your first kid, right? You got all this money into their 529 account, but then they don't end up using it all. You can change the beneficiary to the next kid, even though they have a 529 already, and now like they can use both of those funds. I could open up a 529 and list Landon as a beneficiary. Like, your kids can be beneficiaries on a countless number of 529 accounts. Now, if they're going to be going to school at the same time, you're gonna hit a headwind because you can't have two kids as beneficiaries on the same 529 account. So you still want to have a 529 account for each kid, but that flexibility is huge. Also, with Secure 2.0, this rolled out in 2022. You can now roll unused 529 funds into a Roth IRA account for the child. Now, there's a lot of stipulations on it. I'm sure this will change over the next several years, because anytime they come out with new legislation, it sounds great, but then when it comes to practicality, they realize, oh, we haven't thought this through. So some of the headwinds there, the account has to be open for 15 years. So if you have a kid that's 15 right now, well, by the time they're done with school, maybe they're 25, that account's only open for 10 years. You wouldn't be able to move that money over into the Roth.
Does it have to be the Roth with the same beneficiary?
Correct.
So it has to, okay.
Yep.
I can't move it to my own Roth.
No. And we won't spend too much time on that, because unless you're super familiar with like Roths and why that could be beneficial, and if you want to learn more, I'm more than happy to talk to you later. But just know that it's no longer just locked up for education. That Roth option is there. There are other stipulations like how much you can do per year. Kid has to have earned income. It's only $35,000 max for each beneficiary. So, but this is the biggest, control over the funds. Kid doesn't go to school, still your money. You can pull it out, pay taxes on it, pay penalties. So it doesn't, hopefully, the kid goes to college. If not, it's not the end of the world. Any questions about what we just chatted about on the 529s? Okay, UTMAs. Again, not really used. I have yet to open up one of these accounts. So it sounds, why would someone want to open up an account in their kid's name and then be the custodian of it until they turn 18 or 21?
Benefit of time. Of having.
Well, you could do a 529, you could do a taxable investment. There's all these other vehicles you could open. Like, why would these even exist?
Oh, they're just common vehicles that we're used to, accustomed to, things that they'll eventually be using anyway, like a checking account.
Okay. Yeah, and I love that idea. Hey, we're going to open up a brokerage account for you, teach them how to buy stocks, index funds, or invest the money to get it to grow. Absolutely, that could be a good learning lesson. But to put $100,000, $150,000 in this account, so it's all theirs by the time they're 21. So these accounts came about for tax. Parents thought, let's open up these accounts in my kid's name. They own it. It's taxed at their rate, not my rate. And now we can put in as much money as we want into the kid's account. Now, the trade-off is it's all theirs, but IRS was real quick to say, all right, we now introduce the kiddie tax. So any unearned income that your kids generate over $2,700, if you're married filing jointly, and this is in 2025, that gets taxed at your rate. So there's not really a benefit to these. So I'm not going to spend any more time on this, but just know if you heard of these, that's why, that's gone away. So they're not really used. Okay, Roth IRAs. This is that retirement account that you can put money in after taxes. It grows tax deferred just like the 529, and the money comes out tax-free in retirement, never to be taxed again, just like the 529 account. The reason why this could be a strategy, if you're looking at that final year, 529 funds are exhausted, but you have a couple $100,000 in your Roth. Everything that you put into that Roth, you can pull out without taxes and without penalties. That is yours to pull out. It's your cost basis. You've already paid taxes on that money. Now, if you're to pull out any of the earnings, that's where you not only get penalized if you're under 59 and a half, you're also paying taxes on money you're not supposed to be paying taxes on. But if you have a $200,000 Roth account, chances are you have some pretty good contributions in there that you put in. So you can look at your statement and say, hey, of this $200,000, it looks like $120,000 is what I contributed over the years. Let's pull out $20,000 and just get our kids through their final year. That is an option. And then taxable investment accounts for education savings. These are the ones we use the most for our clients, ironically enough. And that is because Well, it seems like they suck because it says taxable at the front. Okay? The tax rate on the gains is at a more favorable rate than your income rate. It's taxed at capital gains. And it's also only taxed in the year that you realize it. So you're not going to hit 18 and then sell everything and fund all 4 years of college. No, you're going to be paying little by little at semester, and you can tax plan around that. You can say, hey, this year's going to be a low income year. Let's actually pull out the money or make the sales for the whole school year, maybe the first 3 semesters. Or it's a high tax year, let's just fund this semester, and then we'll readdress it next semester when we're in a new tax year. So there are tax strategies there. But the biggest thing is it's in the parents own this account. Their kids are only beneficiaries if they're listed as a beneficiary on the account. And the money can be used for anything. So the flexibility is what's huge. You can overfund this account and not worry about it. If you have $500,000 in this account by the time your kid goes to school and they get a scholarship, you could buy them a house. And there's no penalty to it. So from a flexibility perspective, these are the accounts that we usually land on for saving for our clients' kids' education. They also all have 529 accounts. Why? Why not take advantage of the $200 in tax savings each year? Yeah. I laugh at that, but why not? But more importantly, it gives family members a vehicle to put money in on birthdays and Christmas. That's huge. And so you should always still have a 529 account open. And when you have both of these accounts, you also look at it and say, well, we're not going to superfund the 529 in case they don't need all that money. We'll put the rest in here, and then that way if they do need it, we know we have the money set aside, but it's not in the 529 account. Any questions on this type of account? They're pretty basic, pretty simple to open. You could open one up with Vanguard if you wanted to, and again, I could talk to you more about that if that's something you're interested in doing.
So the 529s, those you open one for each kid.
Yep.
But these taxable accounts, that is under your
Yeah.
as adult.
So depending on our clients, we've opened up like their early retirement fund, and then we've opened up everything for the kids fund.
Yeah.
It's literally the same account. It's just so that they're more deliberate with where their money goes. Or wedding fund, a graduation gift fund, education, down payment for a home. Like everything in this account is for their kids. But for other clients, they just want it all in one. It's just one account, and it all goes in there. So yep, good question.
With the 529, you're limited on your investment options, but with the taxable one, are you limited as to what you would be investing in money?
It depends on where you open it.
Okay.
And what you want. So the 529 has to be opened up with the state. You are limited on the funds, and no one can manage that for you. It's on you. With these sort of accounts, if you want to take it on, you can open up a brokerage account. There's a bunch of brokerage accounts out there. They have no trading commission fees. You can buy and sell stocks all you want and get yourself in as much trouble as you want. That said, like we do have, I'll tell you a story after this. It's pretty crazy. So you could open up a Vanguard account for this and then buy indexes, instead of individual stocks. Or what we do a lot with clients is we open these accounts for them at our firm, and then we manage the investments for them. So they don't have to worry about it. They just put the money in and we invest it. And we base those investments that we're selecting off of time horizon and risk objective. When do you need the funds, and how often do you look at this account? How much is it going to keep you up at night? So going back, I had a client reach out, said, hey, husband and I are going through divorce. I need you to look at his Robinhood account because we're trying to determine how much of it should be split. In all fairness, it's September. There's realized gains in there that aren't going to get paid until April of next year that take away from the total value of the account. Meaning we have it's a $2 million account. And in that account, it's like, well, I owe taxes on some of the trades that I made. I want to make sure that I take that off the table. So let's say it's $200,000 in taxes. It's 1.8. That's what gets divided in this divorce. Does that make sense? So it's our job working with this client, how much are you going to owe in taxes on this account size so that they can split it fairly in this divorce. So they send me their trade logs, and he's a very active trader. He generated $1.2 million in taxes on a $2 million account. So while it sounds nice, $2 million, $800,000 is what they'll split because of the gains that, and that trading, maybe he wouldn't have made as much if he didn't take that tax liability on the head. But you got to be careful if you're trading these accounts yourself, especially in a taxable account.
Was that account a taxable account?
Yes.
It was this?
Yes. That's why we had to run the tax evaluation for him. When it comes to saving, we just went over a lot. The important thing is everyone who raised your hand that said you were saving, that's awesome. You already are ahead of the curve. I don't care where you're saving or how much you're saving, the fact that you're putting money away, unless you're just putting it under the mattress, in which case, get it to work. But everyone said they have a 529 account, so that tells me that it's getting invested. This is the power of compounding. And this goes well beyond even saving for education. This goes to saving for your own retirement, for your second home, for your vacation home, whatever. Does anyone know what this graph is showing?
The impact of compound interest if you were to save 10 years earlier at 25 versus 35. So
investor one starts at 25. They put $5,000 in per year for 10 years, and they don't invest again. 34. They're taking the $5,000 a year and going to half of Disneyland. going to Disneyland every 3 years. Investor 2 starts at 35, so right when investor 1 said, hey, I'm done, I'm not going to put any more, they're setting aside $500,000, and they're doing it for 30 years. Investor 1 still ends up with more money. The goal in all these accounts is to have the compound growth in that account be more than what you're putting in. So when you look at your statement at the end of the year, in an average year, right, we're going to have up years, we're going to have down years. But if you look back at your 5-year performance and you're getting 10% returns and you see what that is what that amounts to dollar-wise, that dollar amount is more than what you're putting in, you know you're ahead. Now your account's doing more work for your future self than you are. And that's the power of compound. So it's always going to start slow. It's always going to feel like what you're doing is not meaningful. But you will hit that inflection point, I promise you. All the clients we work with, there's always this inflection point where they don't realize that they're there until 3 years later and they're like, how is my account the size it is? And it's because of this. So, so how do we help our clients determine college savings? And we use the same methodology for any finance goal, other than retirement, because retirement is very dynamic. So we use a different calculation for retirement. We have 3 ways for running, we run the analysis, and then we have 3 solutions for our clients always. The first one is, how much do you need to save each month to hit your goal? The second one is, well, if you just put X amount into the investment account today and didn't put any more in, what would that amount need to be? And then the third is reduce cost. If you're just going to keep doing what you're doing because you can't afford to do anymore, here's what you can expect to cover for college. All of them valuable information to know? Yeah, maybe. If you knew, hey, I just need to increase my monthly contributions by $50 and my kid could go to Harvard, it's going to be a little more than 50, but, or we actually just got a big commission check. You're telling me if I put $20,000 in the account right now, based off of what I have and how much time I have, we're good, and we don't have to worry about this ever again. Now, in this scenario that we ran, we didn't have any money set aside, so their solution to reduce costs is don't pay for college at all, which is a solution. But so the way that we run this report, the meet needs is what we call it, is we have to know the amount and we have to know the timeline. Once we have those 2 numbers, we reverse engineer based off of a growth rate. That is going to be dependent on your risk appetite. We'll recommend what you should be in based off your time horizon, but if that's too aggressive for you, then we would need to scale that back, and that's fine. What we'll do is we'll run that analysis and say, okay, if you're not wanting to take that much risk, that's okay. We'll put in a 6.5% annualized return, but then you're going to have to save a little bit more each month. Or if you're willing to take on a little bit more risk and we can increase that return, now you don't have to save as much. So in this case too, we're also accounting for inflation. So it's $10,000 a year for 4 years. That should be $40,000, but you see our total cost of education is $54,000. So we are also taking into account that cost of education is going to go up. Any questions about this?
How do you guys factor? Because obviously, the funding. So
it reminded me.
It's like
keep going.
55,000. I don't need maybe all 55,000. Well, that's the cost for the full 4 years. Do you also calculate that where it's okay? Well, you'll need this amount, but then based on growth of what you have remaining can help get you through maybe years 3 and 4. Do you factor? Does that make sense? How do you factor that in?
It does. And what I was going to say, maybe this will help explain. Because first we have to address the elephant in the room. Who's ever invested and gotten a fixed 7.17% return year over year? If someone's offering you that sort of investment, it's most likely a scam. You don't get guaranteed rates of return. Maybe if you're in the 3s and 4s, but even then it's not consistent. There's volatility in these markets. Some years you'll be up 15, other years you'll be up 3, some years you'll be down. Okay, so we're averaging this out. So every time we run this, we have these numbers now. Then we run it through a Monte Carlo. So we're stress testing this across 1,000 different scenarios to say, hey, based off of historical market performance, what are the odds you hit your goal with this contribution? And I can tell you that right there, $185 a month, the odds of that was like 67%, if I'm remembering correctly, which we don't consider that successful. It needs to be 83% or higher. So this is good if you think you're going to get those rates of return. So that's the other conversation we're going to have. If you feel like the market's going to go up and to the right and we're good and you don't need to worry about volatility, then that's all you can do, and it's a good start. If we want to bring in the probability of success and increase your probability of success, we're going to stress test that in a different screen and then say, all right, if you really want to make this bulletproof, you should probably save $240 a month. And then that's going to give you a 83% or higher, or some sort of number. So does that answer? Because you're right, like this is going to overfund it. If like your goal is, hey, I only need 40,000, and we run this, and you're on track for 57, it's going to say you're on target for goal, and it's going to say $0. You don't need to put any more money in it. You've already hit your goal.
So when you run this, it's about here's where we want you to have what 4 years worth of college is going to be at day 1, and that's kind of what.
No, we'll figure that out.
Because right, like I don't need all 4 years up front.
So and yes, so and I initially when I presented that to a client for the first time a couple years back, I'm scratching my head. I'm like, how? When I run it in a constant rate of return calculator, it's not showing me the value that report's saying I should have at 18. But that's because I dove into that report, and it's actually still accumulating the value of the 3/4 account at year 3 or 1, half the account at year 2, because there's still money in there still growing. So it does, yes, it does account for that. And then these numbers are what it is today to go to college. So depending on where your kid's leaning, and I mean, who knows, right now, let's be honest, who knows where their kid wants to go to college? What? This is so, and so I get that this is like nice to know, but it's so hard to understand where your kid really wants to go to college till they're there. And a lot of times we as parents are making that decision for them at 3. I can't tell you how many parents like, oh, I want them to go to Ivy League school, so we're going to save up for $40,000 a semester. It's like, okay, but do they want to do that, right? And so the bum thing is you're not going to find out where your kid wants to go to college till you only have 1 year left to save when they're 17. So you have to get ahead of it. And so yes, make this about you. Make this about where you are okay, like bare minimum, I want my kid to at least go to a community college. That's our number, in state. Okay? Or I want my kid at a minimum to go to the U. Well, I know what Aaron's number is. Looking at 30,000, unless you're going to let them live at home, then you could be 11.6.
Oh yeah. We got a Harriman campus now.
So make that about you, but then you can adjust as you're going through life. And when you get, and this is why the clients we work with aren't putting everything into the 529 accounts, right? Because if we're planning for that and then they say, actually, I want to become a welder, then you just hit the jackpot, right?
You see across the board, I mean, what's the general consensus? Are people saving up fully funded accounts for their kids to go to college, or are they doing partial? Like, what's the plan that most people have?
Individuals working with financial advisors or not?
Working with financial
With us, 80% have a fully funded goal.
Okay.
And the reason why is because we work to create a goal that they're like a lot of our discovery in our discovery meetings isn't how much money do you have, how much can we grow it, what are the great returns. If you don't sleep at night, we can go ham on this and let's grow this to the amount that we can, like the highest amount possible. We say, where do you want to be in life at this age? How much is that going to cost you? What are your living expenses now? So many of our clients, when they first come in, have no idea what that is. Right? It starts there because that's going to be indicative of what you spend in retirement. Because it all starts there. How long do you want to work? And are you on track to hit that goal? We have to fund that first, typically. There have been a very few parents that are like, I don't care if I have to work till 70. This is a bigger priority, and they're the Ivy League parents. But for the most people, it says, no, we got to make sure we're taken care of. And then once that's all done, what's left over? How much can we fund? And so it's usually more of a conversation of, like, based off of what you can do, we can really stress your cash flow, and we can get them set up for out of state. Or if you want to still live life now, take your kids on trips and feel like there's value in that, which there absolutely is.
Soccer tournaments.
Yep. Then maybe what we do is we say, well, let's work for in-state so you have that extra cash flow. And then whenever I have a client whose daughter wanted to go to UCLA, and that was fully funded. He could have done it. And he was willing to. He was about to. But he sat down with his daughter and said, this is how much it costs to go to UCLA. Here's how much it costs to go to the U. I'm giving you UCLA money regardless of what you do. You decide. And that to me that was the coolest thing. I think that's what you should try to shoot for, is, like I said, overfunding so that you can have those conversations with them.
So that's a big question I have, is how often is it that you have parents have those open conversations with their kids saying, look, I have an account for you set up, or they just don't tell them until they are graduating. It's like, hey, I've had this account going.
Aaron?
That's honestly, like, I was talking about this, like, we are in a position where we don't know if college is something that we're doing. And I'm not in a position where I want to just throw money and put my kid into a college when it's not something that they're driven for. And so it's kind of one of those situations where I got 2. So hopefully one of them at least will want to go so I can do what you're talking about, which is.
Yeah, 529, yep.
And yeah, it's like have a discussion. This is how I'm approaching it. Like, you want to go to college? Yeah, I do. Okay, great news. Like, this is what we have for you. But not until it's something they actually want to do.
Yeah.
You know?
At 529, I tell them I'm paying for one college, one wedding, and one car, and they get to decide who.
Yeah.
They want to go to college first, money college, they want to get married first.
Oh, geez, I
Wedding.
got 2 boys, so I guess I don't have to worry about
And then the third gets a Porsche 911?
It's not fully funded.
That's the question I always had, is like, do you be open with them about it and just say, like, hey, we have 529, and like use it as a teaching tool, or the side effect of that is they know mom and dad are saving up, so they're not going to work hard in school to get a scholarship.
Ah, interesting. I
Keep
don't.
it a secret and have it grow on its own, and then reward them if they, pursue
Yeah.
school and do well, and say, hey, actually, we have this 529 for you that we can cover your school.
You're getting into the element of financial planning that we focus on most, and that's the psychology of money. These are mostly the conversations we're having with clients, right? Numbers speak for themselves. We can put it in a plan. It takes like a lot of effort to get the data in there correctly so the outputs are accurate and that you know your stuff so you can plan with strategies, different accounts. But those are the kind of conversations that come up time and time again. I would say that parents hold back more about the trust fund than college. Because as a kid, I can only go off personal experiences. Whether my parents were paying for my college or not had nothing to do with how I performed. But that's not to say that's every kid. And if you feel like you have any sort of an inkling that that could be the case, well, then why would you tell them?
Yeah.
It would be the question. Like, is there a reason to tell them? But then also, would they maybe be more driven knowing that the end of high school isn't the end? Because whether they like it or not, they're going to college. And I'm not saying whether they like it or not, but for me, I didn't think college was an option because I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. Luckily, I went to flight school in 07 where they were handing out money like hotcakes. I just signed the dotted line and they gave it to me, which is crazy, blows my mind. But yeah, I didn't really think about college because I didn't know how I was ever going to pay for it. And luckily, I had a job that did tuition reimbursement, so that got my foot in the door at the community colleges. And then as I was going through that, that's when I decided I wanted to do flight school, and I got that push. But I would say that could backfire by not telling them too. And so those are the things you got to. Maybe it's, hey, if you go to college, we'll make sure that it works for you. And maybe that's just where you leave it. But it's a good question, one I don't have an answer to because it depends.
So if we're in one of those parents that are like, you need to learn to save for college, are the strategies similar in a lot of ways? And if not, like how do we approach that conversation more? So I'd like my kids to be able to like really work towards building up their accounts, but I notice most just like make money and it sits in an account.
Yeah.
So
When we build these plans, we make sure that whatever they need, so the 240 here, is set up on a systematic contribution into the investment account if they ended up opting for the taxable investment. Then they have the 529 account on the side, and that's the icing on the cake. That's the one that I'd have them put money in. That's the one I'd have parents put money in, and relatives, and give them the login so they can see. Well, maybe don't do that, but because if we're hiding it from them, right? But there is that. It's really important for kids to understand to compound at a young age. And I don't know if it's going to click at 8 or 10 or 12, but eventually it will. And if you give them a tool for it to click so that eventually it does, I think that's powerful. But then they have to be able to see that the money they're putting in is growing. And so that's why I say give them access. But there are a lot of things out there like the green card. Are you familiar with that? Or even Acorns. They set up. Betterment has some kid accounts where you could do that outside of education. I think you handle education, or maybe not. Maybe I like that, Jeff. Like, what if you say, hey, like, make sure you put money towards your education because if you don't take it serious, we're not going to. And then maybe what it is it's a match. Hey, if you put in 100, I'll put in 100. Or maybe that's what you tell them, and then you put in everything that you need to make sure it hits. But we do that a lot with the Roth accounts. Once kids get into the high school years and start having earned income, they can open up Roth IRAs. And so contributing to those and the matches, we love that strategy to get the kids involved.
is it like impactful enough long term that like the kids are like, oh, like, I see you're growing.
Dude, how old do you think I am?
Just like-
I don't have that long of a trip. No.
We're just kind of like, this is kind of fun and interesting, but like really in the end, like you're putting in pennies.
So the kids that our clients bring in, because we encourage them to, bring your kids into these meetings if you feel like they benefit. They're older. They're not the kids that are coming in because they couldn't find a babysitter. They're the kids that are coming in and sitting down and like, yeah.
They're just worried now.
Yeah, no, and that's, they usually are very involved in that meeting. And when it leaves, I feel like I've made a huge impact. But did I don't know. But I can tell you that those conversations, when the parents are bringing in the kids because the kid wants to learn more and the parent wants them to learn more, they feel impactful. But that's all I have to go off of.
It varies by kids.
Yeah,
We have
yeah.
one kid that knows real numbers, the other two don't and won't.
Yeah.
So,
So what's your advice for someone who's already late in the game? And the scenario of compounding is out of the way.
For education, right? Because there's all these other financial goals too. It's never too late to start on anything. When did we have our mom start putting money in her 401k?
62.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my son is already 13 and we don't know what we're going to do. So like 5 years maybe?
Yeah.
To the college?
This report's super helpful because we can come to here. And we can say, okay, based off of where you're at, here's where you're currently funded. And then you can peel back the layers and say, okay, that's going to work for these schools, or maybe not, but that will put you in this range. Okay, where are we looking at for our kid? Like, it'll give you an idea of which ballpark you can play in. Then we'll come in and say, okay, based off the deficit to get this up, so maybe it's saying, hey, you can afford to pay $2,500 a year. That's not going to cover any colleges, but we can get you up to $5,000, and that'll be at least the community college and get 2 years. And that's I wouldn't say don't disregard how impactful that could be. If you can even take care of just the first 2 years of community college for your kids, because we didn't even have that.
So another thing is like you're suggesting like if you have like 2 kids open to 529s, what if the age difference between those kids is like 3 years? You open only one, right? So one kid decides to do something good, he can use it, or whatever amount he can use it, then he can change the beneficiary. And then
You can. The problem is you said they're 3 years apart.
Yeah.
So if the fourth kid still has funds in there, and they're using it in their 4th year, and then the second kid is going into year 1, you can only have one beneficiary. So I'd still open up 2. And don't worry, because a 10% return on an account with 500 here and 500 here is the same as a 10% return with 1,000 here. So it doesn't matter that you have the separate account. I mean, there are maintenance fees that the state charges, but they're very negligible. So I would still open up the 2 accounts. And then we do this a lot too with the meet needs report. Is we'll run it for each kid, and then we'll give a total. Say, well, this kid, you need to put more in each month because they're 5 years out. This kid is 8 years out or 9 years out, so you don't have to put in as much. But combined, it's about $600 a month. Let's turn that on. And then at that point, that's if it's going into the one account that we talked about, where it's just for kids. It's the taxable account, the flexible account. If it's in the 529, then you would deliberately split. You'd put $450 in one account and $150 in the other account.
But then why even go in that route? If anyways, parents, as a parent, we have to plan and pay. Why not invest in IRA, real estate, other places, and whenever they decide and he needs, we can just pull off.
So we did talk about the IRAs here.
Yeah.
You definitely don't want to do a traditional IRA, because if you pull that money out early, penalties and fees. So don't do that. The Roth IRA could be an option. It's just not the most tax efficient.
But it always has a limit, right? There's certain amount you can
For the IRAs, it does, yep. Well, all retirement accounts have limits, but they're very low on the IRAs. Your retirement plan, though, your employer's Roth 401k, because almost all 401ks offer a Roth if you have an employer that has a 401k plan, those limits are a lot higher. Those ones, though, you're going to have a lot harder time pulling out distributions while you're still employed. So I'd still recommend the Roth IRA. Even though the contribution limits are lower, you still put money in. One thing we missed on the 529 account is the amount. I think you had asked the amount that you can put in. What limit were you thinking with the 529?
Well, I had asked if there are limits, because the Roth is like $7,000 per year. Isn't the
Aren't you over 50?
75.
If you're over 50, the limits are 1,000 higher on the IRAs, but not the. But yes, very low, 7,000. The 529 accounts, there are like some way. I think it's like, don't quote me on this. I think it's like 220,000 that the state does actually put a limit on per year. It's pretty high. But what you have to worry about is anytime you put money in a 529, it's considered a gift. Your kid is the beneficiary, and there's gift taxes. Who knows what a gift tax is?
There should be zero tax on it.
What was that?
There should not be tax on the gifts.
So they're not really. Gift tax, like people get all fired up about it. And it's like, do you understand what a gift tax is? And then once you explain it to them, it's like, oh, okay. So when you die and you pass all of your inheritance down to your kids, there's an estate tax. But there's a pretty big exclusion right now. Anyone know what that is? 13 per. So if you're married, it's 26 million. It's pretty high. Now that can change. It was supposed to change with the sunset of the tax law, but that got renewed, so that still is where it's at. But basically, you can pass on $26 million right now to your kids without them paying any taxes on it. Anytime in any given year you exceed the gift tax exclusion limit, which is $19,000 per donor and per donee, then you have to file a form that says, hey, I went over this, my bad. Take that off the top when I die. So now instead of 13 million, because you did 20,000 instead of 19,000 one year, they're going to subtract 1,000 off that 13 million. And so now if so that's what the gift tax is. What's nice about the 529 plans is if someone wanted to just super fund your 529 plan for your kid, they can accelerate 5 years worth of gift tax exclusion combination. So 19 times 5, should have wrote that number down. That's how much you can put in the account without having to file a gift tax exclusion. What was that? 19,000 times 5.
106,000.
Well, it's 100 minus 5, right? Yep. So 95. Now that's per adult to each kid. So you could do 95 to Landon, you could do 95 to Riley. Lindsay could do 95 to Landon and 95 to Riley.
Sure, I remember I got 3.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the likelihood of us.
So you're not going to hit
exceeding-
it. That's the point. So you don't have to worry about limits on the 529s. I hope I talked you out of custodian accounts if you ever thought about them. These do have a $7,000 a year limit. And what also can really hurt you with the Roth IRAs is when you get to that point where you're pulling money out to pay for your kids' education, that counts as income on your taxes. So now you're paying taxes on Roth money that you shouldn't have, A. And B, your income will impact FAFSA far greater than your balance sheet. So that income now will impact your kids' eligibility for grants. The following, it's a 2-year look back, but that's why we don't love this account. It's more of a backup. Saving this account for your retirement, 529 accounts for education, this account for everything. This is my wife and I's most funded account, because if we have no idea what the money's for, put it in there. Then when we get to education, right, we start with the 529 funds. When those get exhausted, we come here. We can use some of these funds. If those get exhausted, then we can use some of these funds.
FAFSA doesn't account for your accounts? It's just your income?
Both, balance sheets and income. It's just they take more of a factor on income than balance sheet. So it hurts you more to have income.
I can't quit my job for 2 years.
Well, you want to quit your job, right? And then have them apply and then go back to work. But they look back 2 years. So you can't work for 2 years and then, go on. That's our time. We're 8 o'clock. I know that it's a lot to be out here late. Did you? I feel like you had a follow-up question, though. I want to make sure we address if you did. Okay. Like you're asking, like, where should I get started? Do we have a 529 account for your kids already? Nothing? Okay. So my 529 plan is through the state of Utah. You can go on there and you can open up that account. There's 4 people in here that have accounts, 529 plans, so they can help you with that. And this is the sort of thing, I hope this is okay, in that like we can help out too, but my goal with this relationship with Atomic is obviously my nephew plays, love that, want to support the team. Hi, Lando. But it's also giving to the community through education as well. So I hope that this meeting allows you or helps you take action to hit this goal. And so that's why these meetings are great, but unless we take action from them, then it can be pointless. So why don't we chat after, if you want to chat more, and I can walk you through the 529 and how you can get that started for your kids. Any other questions?
I'm excited about the one where kids learn how money works a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's the next one we do. I know we talked about that initially, and then I went to the tax triangle, retirement, like tax strategies and retirement for adults. But let's do the kid one next. Yeah, for the next meeting, I think we have the kids come in, and we're going to teach them compound through a Skittle experiment.
Eat the Skittles.
Yeah, I'll pull them out of my pocket like my 5th grade teacher. You get a Skittle. You get a Skittle. Yeah, let's coordinate that one. What was that?
Is the date been landed on that?
Oh, no, okay, yeah. We need to get it on the books though. But yeah, I think we give it a round of applause.
Okay, I'll chat with you, and then if anyone else has questions, I have business cards on the table. Feel free to grab one. Also, on that contact sheet, you just had to put your name. You didn't have to put your contact information. But if you want us to reach out to you, and if you want to learn more about what we do and how we help individuals, you can put your email or phone number down there, however you best want to get contacted, and we can reach out.